Hey, what's up, y'all? Evan from Flyletter here, showing you the four-stage framework that any creator can use to create, amplify, nurture, and grow their brand with a high-quality newsletter. Let's get after it. All right, so pretty much every creator or personal brand that grows uses their newsletter as the centerpiece of this four-stage framework to actually grow their brand. I call this framework the Flyletter Method. I have a full article on it on flyletter.io. Feel free to check it out if you want. But the Flyletter Method is a four-stage framework that ultimately puts your newsletter at the center and helps you create, amplify, nurture, and grow your brand. It starts with create. So you need to create consistent newsletter content in your brand voice that actually has something to say. There's so much noise out there today that capturing your authentic voice and then actually, taking an opinion inside and having something to say is going to help you cut through the noise and actually stand out in the crowd. So as you're creating that consistent newsletter, because it's long form, that's the reason why I really recommend focusing on your newsletter as the centerpiece of all of your content, even if you do video. Because as you're creating your newsletter content, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to then amplify your newsletter by repurposing that content across all of your social media channels. Now, that can be threads, long form, LinkedIn posts, short form, Substack notes, but it can also help you with video content using your newsletter as the basis for your video scripts, either long form or short form, using short form video to promote your newsletter, even if your newsletter is long form, driving eyeballs back to your newsletter. So really anything you want to do can really be repurposed, from your newsletter. So as you're repurposing that content, you are, providing calls to action, driving people back to your newsletter, ultimately capturing their email. From there, it's all about really building trust with your email subscribers. And, as a personal brand or creator, what you're ultimately trying to do is build authority and trust in whatever space it is that you're operating in. To do that, you really need to deliver a lot of high value free content. And of course, you want to be owning your audience. If you're building on other social media platforms, these followers are great, but if you're not converting them to email subscribers, it's really ephemeral. And of course, they take action at a lower rate, but also, you can lose that if there's platform changes and whatnot. I always say, if you're like a realtor and you have an open house, someone comes into your open house, says, hey, I really like this, I'll get back to you. Of course, you're going to get their contact information to follow up with them. So similarly, you want to be capturing your audience's contact information via email subscriptions, and then nurturing that audience with consistent high value newsletter content. Gary Vee calls this the jab, 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 right hook. So you want to be giving value, giving value, giving value before you then ask for value. So whatever your offer is, if it's a product, if it's a service, some may be ready to buy right away, many won't. But if you continue to build trust, build authority with this high value newsletter content, ultimately you're going to convert your email subscribers to customers, which is where you ultimately grow both your brand and then your business. Now, the way that this becomes a true growth loop, which really is the whole purpose of this, is once you are nurturing your email list and then converting them to customers, there's so much content that your customers can help you generate, and users and audience. Now, some of that could be like true user generated content, like a forum or a social media platform, but even customer testimonials, case studies, use cases of how people are using your product or service, how they're interacting with your brand, how they're interacting with each other. It's all going to help you generate content. I'll show you an example in a second, but if you have a YouTube channel, repurposing a lot of that content for your newsletter, and it becomes this virtuous cycle. So not only is your newsletter powering, your other channels, but your other channels are powering your newsletter, and you're using that newsletter as a central hub because you want to own that contact information. That's the Flyletter method. One example of someone who I think is doing it well is my friend Andrew Lane. So Andrew is a design expert. He's also an AI expert and got into the AI design game, quite early. So he teaches people about using AI for design, and he also has a back-end agency where he'll help high-ticket clients with their brand identity and ultimate like brand design and whatnot. As you see here, he has about 20,000 subscribers, and what he does is he uses his YouTube channel as his like lead gen mechanism, ultimately driving people to his email list. And what he'll do is he works with his high value clients, and as he's like literally working with them, learning how to implement AI to help them build a bigger and better brand. He'll catalog, what he's learning. He'll catalog his processes. He'll catalog his success stories with customers, and then he creates videos on essentially what he's doing and what he's learning. Pretty cool, pretty high value. Again, it's all free. A lot of it's long form. Oftentimes, there's not even a strong call to action to sign up for his newsletter. It's really just like providing value and building trust. But then ultimately, of course, he gets them to sign up. And so what he does is, here's one of his top videos. It's done about 150,000 views. But you see here that he has a free training and guide that you can ultimately get. And then when you click over to it, it's his mood board method. So it's basically how to turn any idea into a world-class brand in minutes. You sign up, you get the resource, but then of course you're on his email list. And then what he does from there is he will continue to nurture by providing content. Again, some of that is written content, thought leadership. He'll also like redistribute his YouTube videos in his newsletter. He'll use some newsletter ideas to generate YouTube videos, and it becomes this virtuous cycle, ultimately upselling people into his paid offerings. And then he has, an upsell funnel from his front end offering, on through his back end offering. That's quite effective. And so this is really how I think creators and personal brand builders should be thinking about their brand, using their social platforms as their front end content extensions, ultimately driving people back to their newsletter list, and then nurturing that list with high value, consistent newsletter content, and then ultimately converting those users into customers. And then what Andrew does is using like customer interviews and customer testimonials. As an example, right here is someone that he partnered with as a customer first, and then getting them to help him create content, which then goes back to the front end, and that's how you create that virtuous cycle. Now, how do you do that effectively at scale? Well, you can do it with Flyletter. And so Flyletter is an AI newsletter writing platform that not only helps you create newsletter content in your brand voice, but then helps you distribute that content with social media posts, and then even helps you write on a set schedule by allowing the AI writer to write overnight while you sleep. So all you need to do is review and send your newsletters to your audience. An effective newsletter, starts with an effective and authentic brand voice. And so obviously, if you're growing your personal or creator brand, you're really putting yourself out there as the front and center. Even if you have a back end business, you're really positioning yourself as the brand, or at least as the face of the brand. And so it all starts with a great brand profile. And at Flyletter, you can create brand profiles. I'll show you my personal brand right here. Based off of just 3 writing samples, it's just 3 steps, takes about 2 to 3 minutes. And what you get is a complete brand profile that writes in your voice. You see here, it shows your tone, position, voice mix, key characteristics, summary of what your brand represents up top. You can even chat with it for samples and to make changes. And then you have your full brand details down below. There's 54 writing and voice dimensions here that is pulled directly from your samples to help you write in your brand. So once you have your brand set up, you're ready to ultimately write your content. There's a few ways to do that, because keeping a consistent newsletter can be difficult with the amount of content and ideas you need to come up with. One benefit of Flyletter is you actually have topic suggestions that it will give you. You can upvote and downvote those topic suggestions, as well as connect other content sources. So one thing I didn't mention, if you come back here to brands, you'll see here that there's content sources you can add to your brand profile. I believe right here, because this is my business brand, although I'm the face of it, we have the blog here. So if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a blog that's separate, if you have a podcast with an RSS feed, what you can do is add your content sources to your brand profile. And then that will help power these topic suggestions, because we'll learn more about you and your brand, what you're talking about across platform, and then we'll help you come up with ideas for your newsletter based on that. And of course, you can connect your newsletter, which is your central source of truth in terms of the topics that are going live. So Flyletter also will never suggest the same topic elsewhere. It'll kind of take an amalgamation of what you're talking about and come up with unique angles and suggestions for your audience. So you can upvote and downvote. Again, saved ideas or upvoted ideas are saved to your ideas, downvoted or removed, and then they're replaced by another topic suggestion. And of course, Flyletter will take that into account and improve topic suggestions over time. You click into one of the topic suggestions, everyone comes with a full content brief ready to go. So all you need to do is review this content brief, edit if you want. You can also chat with the thought partner here on the left-hand side to actually help you ideate and make adjustments to the content brief. And then when you're ready, you can write the piece of content there. Now, if you're an idea person and you also have a lot of ideas for newsletters and even for YouTube videos or other things, you can also jot manual ideas down here. You can dictate directly to it, which is great. What I love doing is I have a tab just open on my phone. And as I'm kind of like out living my life, if I have a great idea, I'll just dictate directly to Flyletter. It'll save the topic idea and then I can develop it later. So one cool thing is once you save an idea, you can come in here, and then similarly, you can continue to add to this note. You can chat with this thought partner here on the right, and it can do things such as search the web for you to find information. can help you find like alternative angles to what you're thinking. And then ultimately, just like the topic suggestions, when you're ready, you can generate a content brief, and then you can edit that content brief and then ultimately write it when you're ready. Okay, cool. So those are various ways that you can use Flyletter to write your newsletter content, and then ultimately, create those social extensions and then beyond, which I'll just explain in a second. But what you can also do is you can just data dump here. Now, this is cool if you have any like transcripts or things like that. You can just attach them as files and then write newsletters about them if you're doing customer interviews or user interviews or testimonials or anything like that. But you can also repurpose content. So if you have like a separate blog or a YouTube channel, you can do that. And so why don't we just kind of do that right now? So I'll come here and I'll grab Andrew's YouTube video, and then basically grabs the transcript, it's ready to go. And then you can actually add some additional context if you want, and then you can write the newsletter based on that YouTube video. And then I think it's great. What you can do is then you can redistribute your YouTube videos to your newsletter list, and then you can include your YouTube video is kind of like the hero at the top of the newsletter, and then you basically have like a write-up of the YouTube video below it. Imagine it's like a how-to tutorial. You have the video, you actually have the written walkthrough, the how-to, and then what I would actually recommend you doing is then publishing that as a blog post. Now you have an SEO piece, you have a video YouTube piece, and then you have a newsletter that's going out to your audience. And that's really how you get this virtuous cycle going. And then, of course, you can have the AI just write for you. So you can choose a goal. You can select your audience, which you can pull from your persona or profile. And then you can decide on a topic here. And this is AI suggested, as well as you can have it surprise you. So coming back here, why don't we just write that article on the YouTube video from Andrew? So I'll go ahead and click write and we'll get going. Now here in the newsletter studio, it drops you into a multi-agent pipeline that basically each has a specialized role. And what that allows Flyletter to do is create this really high value on-brand newsletter by not trying to have like a generalist do everything. So first thing it does is it gives your input to a strategy agent who comes up with the newsletter strategy, newsletter article strategy. So that down to the research agent. The research agent will do research based on the strategy to find supporting evidence for your newsletter article. From there, it's passed down to an outline agent that will do the outline of your newsletter article, to a writing agent that will write the draft. That goes to a polish agent who actually does the editing to make sure that it's basically publish ready in your voice. And then there's an image agent that will create the featured image based on the finished newsletter draft. You can also create inline images by using the same image agent, and you can call it just by using a / command when you're in the editor, and I'll show you that in a sec. Now, one thing that's cool is you can actually leave the studio and everything will be okay. It will still basically be generating in the background. If you come back here, it's still working. All right, and we have the article, the newsletter article done. You see here the 20-minute brand identity system. That's based off of how I build brands in minutes. So that makes sense. You got the image here. And then you got the breakdown here, which breaks it down, looks pretty good, has the research, looks good, ready to go. So what I recommend is if you are editing your newsletter to do it here in the newsletter studio, what Flyletter does is it will track your edits over time and then provide suggestions to improve your brand profile to further align your voice. And so over time, this will become increasingly more publish ready. You can also just chat over here on the side with the refine agent. And the refine agent can search the web. It can suggest changes. You can ask it very targeted questions. Hey, change this section, add this, whatnot, and it can do that as well. You can also use it as a thought to kind of chat back and forth with it. And then when you're ready to create social media posts, all you need to do is come here. You can create short form posts for X, LinkedIn, Substack, Threads. You can create actual Twitter style threads for X or Threads, and then you can create long form posts both for LinkedIn, but also for X and Substack and other platforms as well. To do so, once you have the newsletter done, just come over here and click create, and it will generate those posts for you. All right, so we have our LinkedIn post here, and you see crucially here, it has a call to action if you want to follow for more or subscribe to your newsletter. And we can do the same thing here. We can generate a thread for X or Threads. We have our threads. And here we have our individual posts. Again, these are little bite-sized chunks. They're standalone, but they also promote the newsletter. And I think that's what's important to note about all of this is all this content needs to be standalone value. This can't be like a teaser that teases the newsletter. It has to actually provide real value. But then ultimately through that value, kind of the implied call to action is like, hey, wouldn't you like this delivered to you every week? If so, sign up for the newsletter. And you can do that all here. Now, one thing that's cool with Flyletter is you don't have to write this content yourself or even like click the write button yourself. And so if you come over here, you can actually manage your content calendar. And one thing you can do is set an auto write schedule. So let's say you publish your newsletter on Tuesdays. You can select Monday as your writing day. What that is going to do is Flyletter will write your newsletter article for you while you sleep. And the way it does it is it will pull from your saved ideas first, and then it'll default or fall back to your topic suggestions, and then it'll replace the topic suggestion if it uses it. Now, this is really cool because basically what I like to do is you can really plan like a whole quarter's worth of content in just like a few minutes or even like an hour. And doing that is just, writing down your ideas and then organizing them in the order in which you want them published. And then just coming over here and setting a schedule, and it writes it. And then all you need to do is then, review and improve it. What you can also do is you can set a publish date as well. That's just for content planning purposes. You can't actually publish direct from here. You do need a human in the loop to review and approve it. But if you're just trying to plan out when you expect to publish certain pieces of content, you can do that here. And that kind of helps create that virtuous cycle. So it keeps you on track, on schedule, keeps nurturing those subscribers. And then once they convert to customers, you can, leverage them to help you come up with ideas for new content for your newsletter.